One of the weirder things about catching a glimpse of Dr. Ruth on television was the strange feeling that you watch your grandmother talk candidly about sex.
You what?
Today's video is brought to you by HelloFresh. More about them in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. I am Simon, your host on this little bit of a train wreck of a channel. Welcome. I am so tired. My kid is sick. And I did sleep very much last night. And I look at my Trello, which is like the project management software I use to run like all my channels. And they're like, Simon, you got a business plays to do this morning. I'm like, can't I just do like a casual criminalist? I get to sit down. It's way more relaxed. It doesn't have to be high energy. And it's like, no, the sponsor needs the video backed, boy.
You're fucked.
So here we are. Why? You know, they're always like, work for yourself. It'll be great. Be your own boss. It's the dream, and I'm telling you right now.
Don't do it.
My desire to be sat in front of a computer in someone else's office, just largely checked out in front of a spreadsheet, is fairly high right now. fairly high. Anyway, stop complaining, Simon, because you get to read scripts for people on the internet. You don't even have to do any work. You just show up, you read it, and then you leave. Let's go. On July the 20th, what's this about? I'm so sorry. It's Space Pen and Other Myths That We All Believe. Written by Danny, read by me, memed by Sam. Let us go! I feel like I'm shouting because I'm tired. I'm like, it's like, you know, it's like people who drive very loud cars or motorbikes. It's like they're compensating for having an extremely small cock. Whereas I'm shouting because I'm compensating for being extremely tired. On July the 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong settles back into a recliner on the lunar module and waits for slow coach Buzz Aldrin to get his shit together. Yeah, Neil Armstrong, so relaxed that he screwed up probably one of the most famous quotes of all time. It's one small step for a man, Neil, not man, a man. It's been a funny old day. It makes no sense the way you said it, Neil. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind makes no sense. One small step for a man makes perfect sense and is really profound. And no one believes your nonsense about that radio. It didn't pick up the A. It didn't pick up the A. I definitely said it. Sorry, Neil. It's okay. It's a high pressure situation. We all make mistakes. Even when literally like a third of the world is watching.
Daddy, chill.
It's been a funny old day because of becoming the first man to land on the moon and all that. But Neil now has a few minutes to spare, and far from wallowing in the moment, he's already thinking about the future.
What the hell is even that? Not
the future of space travel. He's thinking about what he'll need to pick up from the grocery store when he finally lands back on planet Earth. Yeah, I bet he was, you know. The mundanity of our everyday lives, just, you know, you'll be doing something super interesting like landing on the moon and you're like, oh, yeah, I do have to fix that shower. He catches hold of a small bit of paper that was floating in the air, grabs a ballpoint pen from the pocket of his spacesuit and begins putting together a quick list. A tin of meatballs in gravy, a couple of packets of space dust popping candy, a bag of Spanish onions. Hang on. There's a problem. This pen has stopped working only after a few seconds. Neil Armstrong slaps the front of his space helmet as he realizes his schoolboy error. Of course it stopped working. Ballpoint pens don't work in space. Neil, what an idiot.
Oh, what a loser. Good.
Also, as if they would just allow him to take his own random pen. It's like, yo, they think about that. You know how expensive it is to blast it into space? Even that tiny little weak pen, it's really expensive. They think about every gram. So no, this is completely unrealistic, Danny, and I'm very disappointed. Of course it stopped work, blah, 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 blah. A typical ballpoint pen relies on simple gravity to force the ink towards the ballpoint. Oh, gravity, so reliable. Unless you're in space. You didn't think about that, did you, Bick? You f***ing idiots. If you've ever tried to use a pen while hanging upside down from a meter, come on, we've all been there. Danny, I thought we wouldn't bring up the meat hook.
You what?
Then you'll know it only works for a couple of seconds, because gravity is pushing the ink in the wrong direction. Once there in the weightlessness of space, the ink in a pen just floats around uselessly in the cartridge without ever traveling down to the ballpoint. And this is an issue, because pens are quite useful in space. Astronauts need them to write mission reports, record anomalies, complete crosswords, and take stock and take stock and take stock and take stock check of the and take a daily stock check of the popcorn.
Yes! Yes!
But NASA has got this, and And here's a funny story. We all know this story, right? I mean, I don't want to spoil it for the 4 people in the audience who haven't heard the space pen story. So I'm not going to, and we'll just carry on. Don't know why I brought that up. This kind of ruins the video a little bit, doesn't it? Just makes it a bit more Okay. In the 1960s, Congress approved a program which allowed NASA to spend $12 billion of taxpayers' money over the course of 10 years developing a space pen that worked in zero gravity. And what did their cunning communist cosmonaut competitors concoct to combat this concurrent complicated conundrum? Challenge me, Daddy, come on!
Those crazy contraptions can't create the kind of classic catastrophe one can cause by cleverly concealing a calamitous crater.
Well, the Soviet Union took a fairly simpler approach. They used pencils. No, I'm spoiling it. No, they did. It's all a lie. Look, I know I just want to sound super smart by spoiling the story ahead of time. It's not really smart, I just remember it from a video I made previously. I think it's actually one of my most popular videos on the Today I Found Out channel, because I see that thumbnail a lot. And I'm like, normally, that means that the video is quite good. Normally means that a few million people are watching that, which is nice, because money. This might sound like a classic example of over-engineering by foolish capitalists with too much money and not enough brain cells. But this funny story is just that. It's just a funny story. It's another one of those urban myths that are frequently regurgitated across an internet of lies. But they have little or zero basis in reality. Both the astronauts and the cosmonauts used pencils for a while in the 1960s, but they were a pretty dangerous tool to use in gravity, or microgravity to be more accurate, as gravity is everywhere in space. Just not enough of it.
Well, I mean, gravity.
The tips of pencils could break off and float into somebody's eye, or potentially cause damage to the systems. I'd be like, just breathing. I'd be like really worried. I'd just be like in my little space capsule at night, like. And then the next thing you know, you got pencil in your lung. I was riding my bike the other day, just riding along, bum, 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 bum. And a giant fly just flies straight into my mouth, and I'm like, I'm not caught. That fly is not coming out. And I'm like, I can like feel. This is a horrible story, but it felt like it. I'm probably imagining that I could feel it here. But I'm like coughing, and I'm like, I've got tears in my eyes. And I'm like, that fly is fully in my lungs. And I know it's in there dying. And I'm like, all right. Well, guess there's nothing I can do about that, so I carry on riding. About half an hour later, and this fly comes out. Lovely story, Factboy. Thank you for that. That's something. This video just got age restricted, didn't it?
Whoa! That's interesting, but I sure don't care.
Why don't we just get on with the bloody script? They were also flammable, a point which made NASA particularly nervous following the tragic Apollo 1 test mission in 1967 when a fire raged through the command module and claimed the lives of 3 astronauts. It's true that NASA once did spend a ridiculous amount of money on mechanical pencils, which outraged many taxpayers when the numbers were disclosed. In 1965, they bought 34 mechanical pencils at a cost of nearly $129 per pencil, making a grand total of $4,382. Okay, so we got to add a 0 onto those numbers because it was the 1960s. So that's basically $1.5 grand per pencil. Which, I mean, I know I'm like, I got a channel called Mega Projects where we talk about mega projects, so I'm entirely numb to government spending. It's like, oh, war in Afghanistan, couple of trillion. Couple of trilly? No big deal. It's just a couple of trilly. Trilly with a T. Oh, good Lord. So I'm just completely numb to government overspending. Which is kind of sad. It's like, oh God. Critics complain that this was a frivolous waste of taxpayers' money. Oh, who cares? Who cares? Go, government, go. We should all care. It's extremely wasteful. And that's your money. That's our money they're wasting. Why don't I get any cool pencils?
Daddy, chill.
But the real origins of the space, but I mean, NASA's not wasting my money. That money, it's like NASA's not wasting anyone's money, even on these pencils. This is better than spending on some stupid ass war.
Hey, that's my money.
Oh my God. Okay. But the real origins of the space pen, which eventually became the writing tool of choice on both sides of the space race, had nothing to do with either NASA or the Soviet Space Agency. Paul C. Fisher of the Fisher Pen Company had made his own personal mission to create a pen that would work in microgravity, plowing over a decade of research. and over $1 million of his company's money into the pet project. He eventually came up with a design which used a cartridge pressurized with nitrogen to push out the thixotropic ink, a thick ink, which is not unlike toothpaste in that it only becomes liquid under pressure and remains in gel form when resting, so there's no chance of the pen leaking all over the controls in a spacecraft during a critical moment. Fisher reckoned that his new space pen worked in all conditions, including freezing cold and roasting hot temperatures and even underwater. Although I'd be a bit concerned that if you were writing a shopping list underwater, the paper might get just a little bit soggy. Yes, I mean, just add it to the marketing gimmick. Why not? Works in space, works underwater. Perfect. Common environment to reach. I had a space pen. My grandparents bought me one as a gift when I was a teenager, or probably even younger than a teenager when I was young. And I was like, number of times I've used it in space. One. No times. Never been to space. Would love to go to space though. Richard Branson. His company is now charging $500,000. And I'm like, it's a bit rich, isn't it? But maybe one day. It's on my bucket list for sure, which is a crazy thing to say. I mean, it's been on my bucket list since I was a kid, and then I just assumed that obviously I'll never go to space because I'm not smart enough or rich enough. And, well, I mean, the price will come down, and now it's literally people go to space like private citizens go to space all the time. I don't think it's entirely unrealistic that I'll go to space one day, which is cool. Let's carry on. Paul C. Fisher of the Fisher... And then people will be like, you wasted all that money. What about the poor people, Simon? Why didn't you just give that money to people in Africa? And I'm like...
It's my money and I need it now! It's my money and I need it now! Shut the fuck up!
I don't know, I just really wanted to go to space, didn't I? I'm such a dick. Oh my god, yeah, though. I don't know, there's no redemption there, is there? There's no like, oh yeah, now I understand. Now I understand. It's just that I just really wanted to. Such a bell end. I guess you just got to be okay with that if you go to space. You just got to be okay with people hating you spending money on something so frivolous. Luckily, I'm okay with that.
How dare you!
He eventually came up with a design which used a cartridge. Oh my god, I read that like 5 minutes ago. What's going on? Fisher, I read that as well. Jesus Christ. It's because I'm reading on an iPad. I forgot to print out the script in the morning. Did I mention I'm really tired? I sound a bit crazy today. I'm ranting a lot about all sorts of pointless stuff. And then I said I want to go to space. Am I okay?
No.
Both NASA and the Soviet Space Agency were impressed enough to place big orders for Fisher's space pen, and they each received a 40% bulk discount on the usual price, only paying $2.39 for each pen, and they're still using them today. Right now, there are dozens and dozens of Fisher space pens aboard the International Space Station. You can even buy one for yourself from the Fisher Space Pen Company if you think you're ever likely to need a pen while either floating in microgravity, drowning, or on fire. Wait, they work in fire? Oh, I guess if it's really hot. I mean, I guess. It's a bit weird, though. I mean, tell my family I love them. Space pen even helped Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin get out of a tight pickle on the moon when they faced that much more dramatic problem I mentioned earlier. After they had returned to the lunar module, one of them had clumsily bumped into a circuit breaker with their bulky backpack and broken it. This was quite an alarming turn of events, as the circuit breaker was crucial for sending electrical power to the ascent engine, and it was going to get them off the moon. Buzz, what have you done? For several hours, it looked as if neither Neil nor Buzz were destined to make the return journey. Oh my god, it didn't really, did it? Surely not. They'd be like, well, I guess we're stranded on the moon because you bumped your f***ing backpack against that thing, Buzz. If we weren't in microgravity right now, I'd beat the shit out of you. But Neil eventually came up with the idea of just shoving a space pen into its place where the broken circuit breaker should have been, and in doing so ensured that this trip to the moon wasn't going to be one way after all. Neil Armstrong MacGyvered his way off the moon, essentially. What a legend. After saving the day, Neil decided to celebrate by adding 2 tins of meatballs in gravity to the shopping list. Oh, that should say gravy. Is that an intentional error, Danny, or did you write gravity when you meant gravy? That's really confusing.
Well, I mean, gravity.
But I'll do it for you. But before we continue with today's video, let me tell you a little bit about today's, some might say, glorious sponsor, HelloFresh. Yes, you can experience seasonal flavors in the HelloFresh market. It's wintertime. What does that mean? I don't know. What do they got on here? Chicken ramen in... I have no idea how to pronounce that. Shoyu style broth. I'm not the biggest fan of chicken ramen.
I'm just like, yo, I know people are like, oh, look at the delicious flavors with this exquisite ramen. I'm like, yeah, it just reminds me of being poor though, doesn't it? It's just like, it just reminds me of being a student, not even buying nice ramen, but buying like the value ramen from Tesco, which were horrible. And I know it's like, obviously it's different and there's better ramen. Oh my God, you're really not selling this Whistle Boy, are you at all? But they do have food I like peppercorn crusted beef tenderloin. Now that sounds like the shizzle! It's a no-brainer. Skip paying for takeouts. Yeah, and also, I don't know, anyone else feel guilty? My own takeout last night, a big Indian meal, I'm like, oh, it was so good, but I'm also like, why am I such a piece of shit? Why can't I cook? I mean, I can, but why don't I? Why? Well, I'll tell you what, because it's not always easy. But it is easy with HelloFresh. They're delicious recipes. God, I think we said that already, didn't we? But they make so many recipes to choose from each week that you'll break out of your recipe rut. That's true. Because I always end up making the same things over and over again. HelloFresh brings, you know, well, let's just say a little freshness into your recipes, doesn't it? Yes! Save time and stress effortlessly. 50 menu and market items to choose from every week, including vegetarian, calorie smart, and gourmet options, providing plenty of variety. Vegetarian. Calorie smart. Just like a woman. No, I'm just kidding, but I would definitely go for the gourmet options more often, because if a meal doesn't have meat, is it a meal at all? Am I right, Peter? Yes! Also, they help you eat more sustainably. Pre-portioned ingredients mean there's less prep and less wasted food. Oh my God, that is so true. I don't know, I'm making food all the time. The amount of food I throw away when not using HelloFresh. I say this all like I can actually have HelloFresh, but I can't because it's not available where I am. But, I have one of my trusted team try it and share their experiences with me, and I live vicariously through them, which is sad. But look, HelloFresh is just brilliant. Talking points required. Address one bullet. Done! Endorsement and cooking product. Must discuss personal experience. But I just talked about that. One of my team has to do HelloFresh. It's so sad. I often talk with my wife about, I wish HelloFresh was here. I really do. I really genuinely do. I'm not even making this up. We had this conversation the other day and I'm like, it would be great. It's just sad. Get it together, HelloFresh. Must be voiced verbatim. Very well. Go to HelloFresh.com and use the promo code 14Blaze for up to 14 meals and 3 free gifts. Shit. I'll just repeat that. They don't ask me to, but hell, why not? Oh, they do. Repeat offer, URL, and promo code. My bad. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code 14Blaze for up to 14 free meals and 3 free gifts. Yes, that is all very brilliant, isn't it? I'm just making sure that I got the promo code correct. I sure did. And now back to today's video. God damn, I really do wish I had HelloFresh. It's not even a joke. Shazam was an awesome movie. Oh my God, should we just play the game of Does Simon Know These Stories? Because this is another one that your old big brain knows. Oh! Everyone's got their own favorite Genie movie. My own personal favorite is the 1940s Thief of Baghdad. I don't have my own favorite Genie movie, Danny. It's a bit too close to fantasy for me, isn't it? Aladdin? Fantasy nonsense. Nah, I quite liked Aladdin. You might prefer Arabian Nights, one of the many versions of Aladdin. I like that one with, I don't know why I want to say Robert Downey Jr. That's obviously not true in any way. Robbie Williams. Not Robbie Williams, Robin Williams. Get it together, fact boy. I didn't sleep. Yeah, I'd take a nap on my sofa if I didn't just have such a horrific amount of work to do. Oh, boo-hoo, fact boy. How are you going to go to space with that attitude? Or you might be one of the true film connoisseurs to have fallen under the hypnotic spell of the 1990s masterpiece, Shazam. This is not to be confused with the very recent movie adaptation of the DC Comics superhero, Shazam. I have not heard of that. I have heard of the one that doesn't exist, though. That's the first one. Spoiler alert. The film I'm talking about stars American stand-up comedian and actor David Adkins, better known by his stage name of Sinbad. I'm not massively familiar with this guy, but looking through his filmography, I see that he did at least appear in Arnold Schwarzenegger's finest I accidentally disconnected my bionic arse again. Sam's probably going to have a field day with that. He always does. It's like, oh.
Hey, I'm a grown-ass man, all right?
It's not the only bionic part of me. I have a bionic brain. I have a bionic soul. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Jingle All the Way, which was I don't think I've seen that one, even though I'm a big Arnie fan. But in this earlier 1990s effort, he takes on the title role of Shazam, a bumbling genie who is accidentally summoned by two children who have recently lost their mother throughout the course of this heartwarming and comic tale. The kids are granted 3 wishes by Shazam, who ultimately helps their broken-hearted father find love and happiness again. Aww. It's funny, it's moving, it's enchanting. It might be a contender for one of the most beloved and fondly remembered movies from the 1990s. Just one small issue. Never existed! Oh, shit!
So that was a fucking lie. Okay.
The origins of this tale date back to 2009 when a user of the long forgotten... No one will ever forget Yahoo Answers, Danny. No, never forget Yahoo Answers. They posted a message which inquired if anyone else remembers this movie, which seemed to have disappeared without a trace since he last watched it as a kid. A whole stack of movie buffs responded and even shared mutual memories of specific scenes from this film, which they'd collectively identified as Shazam. This sounds like the laziest writer's room ever. They'll be like, yeah, we need an idea for a movie. Well, what we'll do is we'll post on Yahoo Answers that we vaguely remember a generic movie from the 90s. People will chime in saying they remember it too because of that Mandela effect. And then, boom! Pre-tested movie. And then we just whip out a quick screenplay, send it off to JJ, and boom! Movie made. Easy money.
It's my money and I need it now!
And many of them refused to accept that it didn't exist, even when Sinbad himself took the time to point out that he never appeared in any such movie. One guy later claims on Reddit that his uncle used to own a video rental store and he can vividly remember stocking up the shelves with boxes of Shazam. Another guy announced on Craigslist that he was offering a bounty of $1,000 to anyone who could find a copy of this film, which was clearly the victim of a mysterious conspiracy to bury it forever. It was suspected that while, yeah, but do you know how many people are involved in making a movie? It's a lot. And they all kept quiet about some seemingly irrelevant secret. Unlikely.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
It was suspected for a while that Sinbad himself was part of the conspiracy to wipe the movie from history, as he was so ashamed of it. And in 2018, Sinbad posted a YouTube confession in which he admitted that he indeed appeared in Shazam, but had worked with the government on recalling copies of the film. April the 1st, isn't he? He was just mucking about, though.
I did do Shazam. I'm not proud of it when I did Shazam. I was doing a lot of crack. I was staying in crack houses, and I did Shazam for crack money.
In the same video, he claims he only accepted the role of the genie to fund his crack habit and that he was going to track down and kill the people who still own the final 3 copies, which had yet to be recalled. This is going to be like a movie starring, what's his face? The guy who starred in The Room, but the making of The Room, like the movie about the movie The Room. Was it called The Room? It was called The Room, right? Oh, hi, Paul. Yeah, so there's gonna be a video about it. It's gonna be great. Maybe there was just a glitch in the Matrix.
Are we in the Matrix? No.
Or maybe this is another example of the Mandela effect, in which some people claim to retain memories from a parallel universe, an alternative reality in which Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s and Shazam was shown every Christmas during the 90s. The most obvious answer to the mystery is that people are getting mixed up with the terrible 1996 film called Shazam, in which Shaq takes on the role of a genie. However, this film was actually referenced in the original post on Yahoo Answers when the user made it clear that he wasn't talking about that one. And Shazam truthers reckon they remember both films and point out that Shaq's effort was just a shoddy rip-off of the earlier Sinbad classic. It's not going to stand up in court, is it? It's like, yeah, we're suing you. There was a movie. There's no evidence of this movie ever existing. Oh, guys, just leave it alone. You've smoked too much crack.
Exactly.
There are several other possible explanations for the confusion, which seems to be shared by so many lovers of this lost movie. In 1994, Sinbad introduced a screening of the film Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger for the TNT channel while dressed up as a genie. A screenshot from this is often mistaken for a scene from the Shazam film and wheeled out as evidence that it existed. In 1995, he also played a character who dressed a bit like a genie in the sketch show All That. Hanna-Barbera launched a largely forgotten, short-lived animated series called Shazam in the 1960s, which featured the adventures of a wisecracking genie and a couple of siblings. The most interesting thing about this entry is how creatively tired all of this stuff is.
Ironic.
This was repeated during the 1990s and appears to resemble the supposed storyline of Sinbad's movie. And then there's the fact that the VHS release of Shaq's film Shazam featured a preview of Sinbad's upcoming movie, The First Kid, which may have led Sinbad gently getting mentally entangled in the wrong film. It could be a weird amalgamation of all of these different elements which fused shared memories of a movie that was never made. The internet did briefly go into meltdown when lost footage from Shazam finally surfaced on YouTube in 2017, depicting Sinbad in the title role alongside two young siblings, but the exact date it surfaced was the 1st of April 2017, and this was actually quite a beautiful little prank pulled off by Sinbad and the College Humor channel, in which the flickering VHS-style footage takes us through a 2.5-minute roll call of hidden jokes and references to other examples in the Mandela effect. That is quite clever. I haven't seen that. And that sounds like a rather good joke. In the most strangely haunting clip, the little sister declares, "We have our memories, they're real. No one can take that from us." But sadly, the full movie simply does not exist, at least not in this heavily corrupted version of the timeline in which Simon Whistler never even got to be host of Prague's Got Talent. There's another parallel universe where I live in space. The ATM reverse pin code panic. Wow, okay, this is one I haven't heard of. You've just slotted your card into the ATM when you suddenly feel something cold and hard pressing into your back. From right behind you, a husky voice whispers gently into your ear, and you immediately recall from the smell of pickled onions. It's Danny! The voice instructs you not to turn around. All you have to do is withdraw $1,000 from the machine, discreetly hand it over to the mugger, and nobody needs to get hurt today. I mean, who's just got £1,000 in their checking account? I mean, that's a lot of money, isn't it? I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, on my card that I use every day to buy shit, I probably don't have £1,000 on there. And I'm, like, fairly well off. So you'd be like, I can't. There's not that, it's gonna get declined. Do you want 500? Probably got like 500-600 quid in there. They'll be like, all right. You allow yourself the pleasure of basking in smug superiority for just a second. What this clown doesn't know is that you're a social media veteran and you've seen all the posts which explain exactly what to do in this critical situation. Simply punch in your PIN number backwards and this will temporarily disable the ATM and alert the police to your predicament. In that situation, if someone's got a gun to your head, put in your PIN in the correct way, take the £1,000 and give it to them. Because, look, it's £1,000. Your life is worth more than that. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're up to. I don't really know anything about you. But your life is worth more than £1,000. That is a fact. Just give them the money, call the police, and carry on with your day. And, yeah, it sucks that you lost £1,000, but it doesn't suck that you're still alive.
It's my money, and I need it now!
Alas, it doesn't work. The stupid cash machine simply displays incorrect PIN. The armed criminal becomes more agitated as you feel something pressing even harder into your back. Under the circumstances, you have no option but to concede defeat, withdraw the money, and hand it over as he scampers off into the distance. You can't just keep... I keep thinking, like, what? He's like, no, I don't have that much money. I don't know how much is in here. I was going to draw like 100 quid. What am I supposed to do? He scampers off into the distance. You can't help but notice that he was just a little school kid holding a frozen banana. Damn it. The myth of the ATM reverse PIN code panic first surfaced on the internet around 2006 and continues to be passed around and shared on social media today. It actually sounds like quite a simple and effective concept, so it might be considered a shame that it has never once been implemented on a single cash machine anywhere in the world, and yet it's certainly been considered at great length even by Congress, but the idea has always been rejected. A Chicago lawyer by the name of Joe Zizingo first filed a patent on his new ATM panic code system back in 1994 and spent years trying to pitch the concept to banks. But both... Okay, I'm just trying to think how easy it is to think of my PIN code backwards. It's not that easy. Maybe it's just because I'm a small brain, but it took me a few seconds there. So if some guy holds the back, it'd be like, okay, 4, 1, oh shit. I'm just kidding. Also, what are you going to do? Kind of get my bank card, find out which one it is that has that specific PIN code, go to a machine and steal my money? Good luck with that. Both the banks and regulators had serious Serious reservations over the idea. For starters, it would be massively expensive to implement. Secondly, it had the potential to escalate an already prickly situation. If the victim is fumbling around with an ATM, which then appears to disable itself, it could potentially lead to the criminal getting angry and causing serious harm, or worse, to the victim. In that situation, surely it's better just let the mugger take the damn money and deal with the consequences later. Yes, obviously. And thirdly, there's always going to be the risk of frequent false alarms as the police suddenly find that all their time is now being spent racing to critical scenes where clumsy customers have punched in the wrong PIN code again. What are the odds of that? You punch it wrong, it just happens to be you did it entirely backwards? That's never going to happen. I mean, it'll happen like very, very rarely. It's not clear why the myth was first cooked up or what anybody had to gain from starting a false rumor, but the ATM panic code is unlikely to ever become a reality. Following direction from Congress in 2010, the US Federal Trade Commission investigated the concept and concluded that it had no practical value. And maybe that's not such a bad thing, as I can think of a couple more problems with the idea. Considering how many people struggle to remember their own PIN number in the correct order and under perfectly relaxed conditions, just think how much more difficult it would be to mentally reverse the number while under the pressure of having a gun pointed at your head.
Don't do it. No.
Yet the ability to just forget the basic under a high-pressure situation is remarkable. I remember once I was working in a shop and it's like I wander in the morning and it's like every day I'd go in the shop, I'd be the first one in and I'd disable the alarm. One morning, just walk in. Boop, 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 boop. I get to the PIN code machine and I'm like, the alarm machine, I'm like, I have no idea what the PIN number is. I've been punching this in for weeks. And I just got no idea. And then the alarm goes off. And I'm just standing there being like, I don't know. So I ring my boss. It's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, hey, mate. I'm in the shop and the alarm's gone off. And he's like, I know. My phone already. They already phoned me. They already know. He already knows. And he's like, what's going on? I'm just like, I forgot the PIN number. And he's like, been there. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank you. And he was like, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, isn't it? You small brainer. It wasn't.
Okay, smartass. Let's see what this mystery's all about.
And then there's the small number of palindromic PIN numbers. Imagine that your PIN number is 4114, and now imagine the sum you're going to kick up every time you try and withdraw money from an ATM machine. Oh no. TV sexpert Dr. Ruth trained as an Israeli sniper. Another one I know. One of the weirder things about catching a glimpse of Dr. Ruth on television was the strange feeling that you watch your grandmother talk candidly about sex. Over the intercourse of several decades, the Jewish New Yorker Dr. Ruth Westheimer had become possibly the biggest celebrity sexpert on the planet. The distinctive pint-sized figure, she stands at 4 foot 7 inches. That's fairly small. First launched her sexual therapy radio show in 1980 when she was 53 years old and swiftly became a familiar face on television screens over the next 40 years, famous for daring to bring frank discussion of previously taboo subjects to your living room. Oh my God, I'd be like, no. She became a trusted and respected elder figure on any sexual problem you'd care to mention and went on to write 45 books. Damn. Launch her own board game. And she's even popped up in a 1993 episode of Quantum Leap when Sam Beckett leaped into her body to help a woman stand up to sexual harassment. Holy shit, Quantum Leap, really? So the very idea that everyone's favorite saucy pensioner once trained as a sniper in Israel would seem faintly ridiculous. Honestly, who has the time to make up this shit? Oh, hang on, it turns out this one's completely true. I'm including it here because I thought it was clearly a myth, but it turns out the myth is that it turns out to be a myth, that the story was a myth. It's not like she was ever a ruthless assassin with blood on her hands. No, this is true! I could swear that I've read about this and that it was like the Mr. Rogers being a sniper thing. It's just a lie. Or maybe I'm just confusing it with the Mr. Rogers one. But either way, what? Born in Germany and orphaned from a young age from the Holocaust, Ruth moved to Israel in 1942 and signed up with an underground militant organization called Haganah, who were fighting for the establishment of a Jewish state. According to Ruth, the organization discovered that she had the potential to be a lethal sniper and got busy training up the future celebrity sex therapist. It might just be the case that Ruth was chosen for sniper training because her diminutive stature meant that she was far less likely to be spotted. Yet although Dr. Ruth later stressed that she never killed anyone, she seems to look back with pride at her sniper training days. According to Dr. Ruth herself, I could hit the target smack in the center from further than anyone could believe. I was incredibly accurate throwing hand grenades too.
Are real as fuck, look at this shit.
Even today I can load a Sten automatic rifle in a single minute, blindfolded. Holy shit, Dr. Ruth. I mean, gee, it's kind of crazy. Dr. Ruth's sniper training duty came to a tragic end in 1948 when a cannonball from Jordan ripped through the window of the student's residence at which she was staying and exploded, killing 3 of her student friends. The bomb blast blew off part of Ruth's foot, and it was several months before she could walk again. She later moved to New York in 1956 and put away her rifle to focus on sex education and therapy, and she's still going at it today at the age of 93, recently expressing her view that couples in their 90s should still be regularly firing on all cylinders in the bedroom. I mean, I know that one day I'm going to be 90. I mean, hopefully. But it's still something that I don't really want to think about, to be honest. Finally, there's an odd phrase that crept into the Western language during the middle of the 20th century and never really went away. I'll say one thing about Mussolini. He makes the trains run on time. Oh my god. Well, yeah. But I'll say one thing about Stalin. Great moustache. Say one thing about Hitler. Terrible moustache. But let's not say one good thing about Hitler. One good thing about Hitler, he killed Hitler, didn't he? Oh, very tired old joke right there.
Promote that man.
At best, it appears to suggest something positive can emerge from even the bleakest of circumstances. At worst, it appears to suggest that Mussolini's brutal fascist dictatorship might have had some bad points, but at least it jolly well got things done. Well, the Nazi Party, extremely organised. Oh no! It's a bit like saying Hitler may have been a flawed character in some respects, but let's not forget that he was very kind to animals. let's just forget that. As an excuse for fascism, neither of these points really cuts the mustard gas for me. Not gonna do it. I'm just tired. I'm so tired.
You're a coward, you know that?
And whilst I acknowledge that this is not really the point, Mussolini didn't really even make the trains run on time anyway. After becoming Prime Minister of Italy in 1922 and leading the subsequent rise to power, the fascist Benito Mussolini still had a job on his hands in winning over those awkward Italian citizens who reckoned that fascism might not be entirely their cup of tea. You're like, fascism doesn't seem to be for me. A little bit of pressure is going to be applied. Mussolini decided the population might be more open to persuasion if they could see the wheels of fascist efficiency in motion, and he was partly responsible for spreading the propaganda that he had almost single-handedly transformed the old dilapidated railway service into a reliable and punctual service that was now the envy of the world. It wasn't true, though. Whilst the railway service had fallen into a pitiful state during the First World War, most of the real hard work in repairing that damage had already been carried out before Mussolini came to power. While it's true that Mussolini did make further improvements, he concentrated his efforts entirely on the more luxurious lines which were used by tourists and visiting politicians in a bid to impress the rest of the globe. For the everyday Italian commuter, the standard rail service was still pretty sloppy, and commuters faced heavy delays and cancellations all the time. Wow. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the trains have changed very much, does it? Not in Italy. I don't know. Last time I regularly really took the train was when I lived in the UK. And it's like that. It's not brilliant, is it, guys? I remember once I was visiting and it was winter. I got stuck on a train overnight. It was fucking cold. They were like, oh, there's too much snow. And it's like they just shuffled us around trains and onto buses. And eventually it was like I went out for dinner with my friends. I left at about 10 o'clock. Would have been home by 11. And I got home at about 7 o'clock the next morning. And I was just like, what? My parents were like, where have you been? And I was like, I was stuck on a train. And they were like, they checked the news and it was like people were stuck on trains. And I'm like, oh, yes, like me. It wasn't good. It was not good. It was cold. I'll say one thing about Mussolini, though. He was a brutal tyrant who crushed Italian freedom and murdered and tortured any of his own citizens who dared to voice a word of disapproval. Yes. Yeah, lots of things we could say about Mussolini. Bit of a bell end, to be honest. And he certainly paid the price. After the deposed dictator was executed in 1945, his body was dumped in a heap where he was pelted with vegetables, spat on and pissed on by disgruntled members of the public. And he deserved it, didn't he? He deserved worse than that. And then his battered corpse was left to hang from its feet by the framework of a nearly half-built Esso gas station. Just the specifics of that. It was an Esso. I'd like to think that they originally planned to take the corpse somewhere a little more scenic, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but the bloody trains weren't running on time. Danny! Beautiful ending. This has been an episode of Brain Blaze. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm gonna have a little lie down, I think. That's a lie. I've got so much to do.
Don't do it. No.